Gravity Falls, Amphibia, and the Owl House have always been viewed as a little family in animation. Matt Brawley and Dana Terrace both worked on Gravity Falls. All three shows share similar vibes, and they all have little Easter eggs and references that connect them together. This is Disney Television's strongest cartoon trio, which is why fans have noticed that the Owl House seems to be the neglected child of the three. Every one of these shows have been over for years at this point, but while Gravity Falls and Amphibia continue to get plenty of post-family content that deepens their worlds and continues their stories, the Owl House hasn't gotten anything. Gravity Falls has gotten books like Journal 3, Lost Legends, and The Book of Bill. Amphibia has gotten Marcy's Journal and an art book alongside an upcoming comic sequel series, Strange Voyage. And there's even whispers of an animated special. The most the Owl House has gotten is appearances in Chibiverse, which is a cool way to see more of the characters like Luce and Amity, especially because they make the effort to get the voice actors back. But it's overall been crickets when it comes to getting a new installment in the franchise that features heavy involvement from Dana Terrace and other alumni of the show. And now people are saying that Disney's next movie is just ripping off the Owl House? What the hell is going on here? Well, in this video, I want to unpack why it seems like the Owl House is never coming back, and if Disney is really planning to replace it in the public conscious with their new movie, Hexed. I want to start with a reason that seems obvious to me, but I realize may not be apparent to a ton of people, which is that there's no one around with the time to make more Owl House content right now. It feels like most of the talent involved with the show moved on to Knights of Guinevere over at Glitch Productions, artists and writers alike. Knights isn't just Dana's show, it's also co-created by John Bailey Owen and Zach Marcus, who were two of the head writers on the Owl House. Now there are a bunch of writers working on the Owl House throughout its run, but these two were the story peeps for the show alongside Dana. They're people you definitely want on board for an Owl House project that's on the level of a Gravity Falls or Amphibia book. Alas, Knights of Guinevere seems to be taking up all of their time and attention, especially because it's the first of its kind at Glitch as a 2D animated project. Though I imagine that'd be more demanding on an artistic level than a writing one, but don't quote me on that, it's pure conjecture. When you look at the aforementioned Gravity Falls and Amphibia books, they usually involve the talents of not just the creator, but the alumni of the shows. Journal 3, Lost Legends, and The Book of Bill were all hands-on-deck projects, featuring the talents of numerous artists who worked on the series, including Dana illustrating one of the stories in Lost Legends. Marcy's Journal was authored by Matt Brawley and Adam Colas, who wrote on all 3 seasons of the show. The reason these books capture the essence of the shows they're based off of so well is because they involve at least some of the people who helped make them what they were. And even if Disney hired another artist to work on something like a comic, as seen with Amphibia's Strange Voyage, you'd still need Dana and at least one of the story writers to handle the script. But again, they're all busy over at Glitch. Though that actually brings me to reason number 2, one that may be a hard pill to swallow or the most obvious thing in the world. Dana Terrace wants to move on from the Owl House. Last year, someone brought a rumor to Dana's attention about the Owl House getting greenlit for a spin-off, and her response shed light on her feelings towards producing more of the series, stating, "Nope, someone's just making shit up with no proof. Besides, I don't want the Owl House Season 4. I don't want to redo anything or make my whole career centered around one show idea. But hey, if that ever changes, you'd hear it straight from me, not someone trying to get views on TikTok." Someone replied asking if she'd ever continue the story pre-epilogue, and she simply said, nah. Dana doesn't want to be tied down to one series for her entire career, which is extremely valid and something that shouldn't be a rarity, yet nowadays it kinda is? When I was growing up, it was normal for creators to have multiple shows to their name. Genndy Tartakovsky had Dexter's Lab, Samurai Jack, O3 Clone Wars, and Symbiotic Titan. Craig McCracken had the Powerpuff Girls, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, and Wander Over Yonder. Even over in Canada, Tom McGillis and Jennifer Perch had 16 and Total Drama Island. You get the idea. We used to have generational runs. Now we get 2 full seasons. If you're lucky, then cancellation, then you're plunged into development hell. Around the mid-2010s, something started to shift, and it's become a lot harder for creators to get another show off the ground. And then it's an even bigger challenge for those shows to catch on for one reason or another. Look at Pendleton Ward and The Midnight Gospel, J.G. Quintel and Close Enough. Recently, Raphael Bob Waxberg, the creator of BoJack Horseman, had his new show released on Netflix, Long Story Short. And it's a banger, but it's not getting nearly as much traction as it should. On one hand, I think it's marketing and accessibility. People need to be made aware that these shows exist, and shouldn't have to burn through their bank account to afford the luxury of watching it, before it gets written off for taxes anyway. But on the other hand, I do think it can be genuinely tough to get people to give these shows a try. A lot of people are stubborn when it comes to change. They might look at Close Enough and just want more regular shows simply because that's familiar to them. It's a similar case with Mom Murphy's Law or Hamster and Gretel. Now, I'm not saying those shows are immediately of the same quality as their predecessors because they have the same creators. It's just that not nearly as many people seem to be willing to trust these shows off of their creator's name alone. And I don't really know how to fix that. Phineas is back with another season on the horizon, and regular shows about to tack back in soon, so the stubborn are winning? So many show creators have had new shows get stuck in development and go nowhere. Alex Hirsch was probably the best example of this. Everyone wanted to see what he'd make after Gravity Falls, only for Netflix animation to implode, leaving him with nothing to show for the years he spent working with them. Darren Epstein was at Nickelodeon after Star vs. the Forces of Evil, but whatever she was hooking up there seems to be dead in the water, as she's had the studio removed from her social media bios for a while now. The industry proper seems afraid of taking a chance on new ideas, even when popular names are attached. Creators have to return to their hits just so stuff can keep getting made. Phineas and Ferb came back after Milo and Hamster had a couple of seasons each. Rebecca Sugar is returning to Steven Universe with Lars of the Stars. J.G. Quintel is working on a more regular show. When it comes to original ideas, it's kinda tough out here, even if I'm shamelessly excited for all these projects. But honestly, I don't think this is just a cartoon thing. As someone who's a bit of a weeb, it's been just as much of a hurdle for mangaka to get other series off the ground and out of the shadow of their previous hits. Look at Kishimoto. His manga after Naruto bombed, getting canceled after a year. Geki Akutami's new manga didn't have a ton of hype behind it until it was revealed to be a Jujutsu Kaisen spinoff. Then it took over the internet by storm. It's a strange phenomenon. It feels like a mix of high expectations and people's tendency to stay within their comfort zone, which makes me want to root even harder for Dana and the Knights crew. Even outside of how things shook out between Disney and the Owl House, Dana doesn't want to be put in an Owl House box, only known for making that one Disney cartoon. The Owl House can certainly lure fans into her other works, like how a lot of fans are already pumped for Knights of Guinevere, but I feel like ultimately, the goal is for Knights of Guinevere to gain its own audience and appeal to people who never even heard of the Owl House. Plus, Dana's been vocal in the past that working in kids' entertainment isn't the end-all to be-all for her. The Owl House is as kid-friendly as she wants to get. And although Knights of Guinevere seems to be working around YouTube censorship with things like When's Blue Blood, thus it still may not be Dana working with no restrictions whatsoever, it's clearly still aiming at an older audience in the Owl House and appears to be much more of her jam tonally. Now don't get it twisted, Dana isn't ashamed of the Owl House, and this isn't her turning her back on it. Again, she just doesn't want to be defined by the Owl House and has a golden opportunity with Glitch that already seems to be working out for her a lot better than if she just stuck in the industry. She doesn't want to live in the past and wants to move on with her life. But as ironic as it may sound, Disney may be the ones who aren't ready to let go of this era just yet, as everyone is comparing their upcoming film Hexed to the Owl House. Number 3. Disney is replacing it? Hexed. So what is Hexed? And is it really Disney's attempt at capitalizing on the success of the Owl House while at the same time replacing its spot in the zeitgeist? Revealed last month at D23, Hexed is Disney's 2026 Thanksgiving film, and more importantly, it's not a sequel! Yippee! I love original animation! The official logline for Hexed reads, an awkward teenage boy and his type A mom discover that what makes them unusual might just be magical powers that will turn their lives and a secret role of magic upside down. Now, when this was unveiled, the immediate response across social media was, bro, that kinda sounds like the Owl House, LMAO. Some even joking that this would be the Owl House, except it stars, insert a straight white man. I got that clip on deck. I have seen the idea get floated around that this is Disney's attempt at taking the Owl House and making it more palatable for a general audience. And I think this idea is partially influenced by the timing, as right before this film was revealed, it came out that Disney wanted to win back Gen Z males with original IP. And while that is an entirely separate conversation, it's easy to look at that and then see them announce a movie with a premise that's kinda similar to the canceled show Stark a Teenage Girl, and think that they're trying to just repackage the hit that they fumbled a couple of years prior. But I think people are missing a few things. 1. Movies take a long time to develop. There's a decent chance this movie was already conceptualized by the time the Owl House got canned. But even if it was thought of and greenlit after the fact, Disney's shows and movies are already made at 2 different studios that, as far as I know, are under different leadership and operate without significant overlap. I'm pretty sure they found out what they're all working on at like the occasional company event. Hey, check out this cool stuff we're all working on, yay! The person who got the Owl House canceled is not the same person who greenlit Hexed. To keep it a buck, Bob Iger probably doesn't even know what the hell an owl house is. I also don't think we know nearly enough about Hex to argue that it's similar to the owl house. Like, why are we saying these two are so similar exactly? Because there's a quirky teenage protagonist? Yeah, I haven't seen that one before. Or is it because the parental figure is a pivotal character? Really sounds like uncharted territory, guys. But I guess I can't ignore that it's a world full of magic. Like, damn, you definitely got me there. Don't get me wrong, I totally get why people are being reminded of the Owl House. But at the same time, it feels like a takeaway you'd get if you look at this movie through the lens of only having seen the Owl House and nothing else witch-focused whatsoever. None of these ideas were unique to the Owl House. I'd argue everything that made the Owl House special came down to Dana and the crew's own sensibilities rather than the premise itself. I mean, were people not constantly pointing out how similar the Owl House and Amphibia were while the two were airing? They both had the moniker of American Isekai, because getting whisked away to a magical world is an entire subgenre of anime and manga. I don't think Disney shouldn't be allowed to ever have stories featuring magic and witches and quirky, presumed neurodivergent teens, just because someone in the TV division canceled the Owl House during the pandemic. By the time this movie drops, it'll have been over 3 years since the Owl House ended. We can't be acting like the body's still warm. I don't know what to make of Hexed yet because all we have to go off of is a logo, a synopsis, and some very pretty concept art that doesn't even give us a good look at the main characters. However, I do know that it doesn't deserve to be reduced to an Owl House clone already. It definitely deserves a fair shake, especially because it is an original idea in a sea of sequels from Disney and Pixar alike. Maybe the Owl House will get a new installment someday. Dana wants to do an art book, even with Knights of Guinevere going on. Maybe things will eventually simmer down and get a little less hectic with Knights of Guinevere, and it'll buy the creators some time to revisit the Owl House in a greater capacity. Who knows? For now though, we should look towards the future and support the crew's new endeavors with Knights of Guinevere. Everyone seems so enthusiastic about it, and I think the best thing the Owl House fans can do is return that energy and show up for them with the pilot dropping in the coming days after this video goes live. But as always, these are just my thoughts and I want to hear yours. How do you feel about the state of the Owl House franchise, and do you even want to see more in any capacity, or are you content with what we got? Let us know in the comments down below and keep the conversation going over on Twitter and Instagram at AllTrickVox and at Roundtable Vids. If you enjoyed this video, please throw it a like and subscribe to the Roundtable for more great cartoon content. Thank you for watching and I hope you have a good day. Peace.